Small battles, big impacts, 5 clashes that changed history. History remembers the massive wars, the epic sieges, the campaigns that swallowed continents whole. But sometimes it's the battles fought on smaller scales in forgotten corners of the world that echo the loudest through time. Battles where the stakes seemed impossibly high, where the clash of swords and the cries of men determined not just the fate of armies, but the trajectory of civilizations. Today we're talking about 5 of those battles. 5 seemingly insignificant clashes that, against all odds, changed the course of history. We'll be traveling from the sun-drenched plains of ancient Greece to the dense forests of Germania, from the scorching sands of the Levant to the rain-soaked fields of France, and finally to the sweltering plains of India. Each battlefield holds a story of courage and cunning, of desperation and defiance, of how the course of history can turn on the edge of a blade. Get ready to delve into the past, to hear the clash of steel and the thunder of hooves, because these are the stories of the small battles that shook the world. Picture ancient Greece, 490 BC. The Persian Empire, a vast, sprawling behemoth, has set its sights on the fledgling Greek city-states. Their goal? To crush this nascent spirit of democracy and freedom. Leading the invasion force is Datis, a seasoned Persian general, and Artaphernes, the son of the satrap of Lydia. They land on the plains of Marathon, just a stone's throw from Athens itself, with an army that stretches as far as the eye can see. Facing them are the Athenians, vastly outnumbered, but determined to defend their homeland. Now, imagine yourself standing shoulder to shoulder with those Athenian hoplites. You can feel the heat of the sun on your armor, smell the sweat and fear of the men around you. In the distance, the Persian army seems to boil like a sea of bronze and iron. The Persians, confident in their superior numbers, expect a swift and decisive victory, but the Athenians, under the leadership of Miltiades, have a trick up their sleeve. Instead of the traditional Greek battle formation, Miltiades takes a gamble. He weakens his center, making it appear thin and vulnerable, while heavily reinforcing his flanks. The Persians, seeing the weakened Athenian center, charge. They believe they've already won, that the Greeks are breaking. But as they push forward, the Athenian flanks hold firm. The Persians pour into the trap, their ranks becoming disordered, and then the Athenians spring their trap. With a roar, the Athenian flanks swing inward, their shields interlocked, their spears thrusting. The Persians, caught in a vice, begin to panic. What they thought was a rout turns into a massacre. The Battle of Marathon was more than just a military victory. It was a clash of ideologies, a testament to the power of courage and innovation against overwhelming odds. Let's journey now to the year 9 AD, to the dense primeval forests of Germania. Rome, at the zenith of its power, had been pushing steadily northward. Leading these legions was Publius Quinctilius Varus, a seasoned general. What Varus didn't know was that a storm was indeed brewing, and at its heart was Arminius, a Germanic prince who had served in the Roman army. Arminius saw the threat to his people and planned to resist. He would use Rome's strengths against them, turn their confidence into complacency, and lure them into a trap. Imagine the scene: Roman legions, weighed down by their equipment, marching in a long column through the dense forest. They are surrounded by an eerie silence, the air thick with humidity and the sense of unseen eyes. Arminius, a master of deception and timing, had united the Germanic tribes. He waited for the perfect moment, and as the legions snaked through a narrow defile, he unleashed his attack. The Germanic warriors, masters of ambush and guerrilla warfare, rained down javelins and axes from the trees. The Roman legions, their formations broken, were slaughtered. Varus, realizing the depth of his miscalculation, took his own life. The Battle of Tberg forest sent shockwaves through the Roman Empire. 3 entire legions, the backbone of Rome's military might, wiped out. The defeat shattered the aura of Roman invincibility and forced the empire to reconsider its expansionist policies. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest is a stark reminder that even the mightiest empires are not invincible. Chapter 3. Jallot turning back the Mongol tide. Fast forward now to the 13th century, to the year 1260 AD. The Mongol Empire, a force of unparalleled military might, seemed unstoppable. Led by Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, the Mongols had conquered Persia, and Baghdad lay in ruins. Their next target, Egypt, the last bastion of Islamic power in the region. The Mamluks, a warrior class who ruled Egypt, knew what was coming. They had heard the tales of Mongol brutality. They were outnumbered, outgunned, facing an enemy that seemed invincible. But the Mamluks were no strangers to warfare. Leading the Mamluk army was Qutuz, a general known for his courage and tactical brilliance. He needed to lure them into a trap, a place where the Mamluks' knowledge of the terrain would give them the advantage. That place was Jallot, the spring of Goliath, a small valley nestled in the hills of Palestine. Qutuz carefully positioned his forces, concealing them in the surrounding hills. Hulagu, confident in his army's invincibility, marched right into the trap. Imagine the scene. The Mongol army, a vast horde of horsemen, thunders into the valley. They believe they are pursuing a fleeing enemy, unaware that they are walking into a carefully laid ambush. As the Mongols advanced into the valley, the Mamluks struck. With cries of Allahu Akbar, they poured down from the surrounding hills, showering the Mongols with arrows. The Mongols, taken completely by surprise, found themselves fighting for their lives in a confined space. The Battle of Ain Jalut was a brutal, bloody affair, but the Mamluks, fueled by their faith, fought like lions. They turned back wave after wave of Mongol attacks. Finally, as the sun began to set, the tide turned. The Mongols, exhausted and demoralized, began to waver. The Battle of Ain Jalut was a turning point in history, marking the first major defeat of the Mongol Empire. Chapter 4. Agincourt Mud Longbows and the Death of Chivalry. Now we travel to the year 1415, to the battle-scarred fields of France. The 100 Years' War, a brutal conflict between England and France, is raging. At Agincourt, a small village, another small battle with world-altering implications is about to unfold. The English army, led by King Henry V, is exhausted, outnumbered, and ravaged by disease. They are trapped in enemy territory, facing a French army that dwarfs their own. The French knights, clad in shining armor, mounted on war horses, are confident of victory. But the English have a secret weapon, the longbow. The English longbowmen, veterans of countless skirmishes, can loose arrows with incredible speed and accuracy. Imagine the scene. The French knights charge across the muddy battlefield. They are met by a storm of arrows, a deadly hail that blots out the sun. The English longbowmen, positioned on a slight rise, unleash volley after volley. The battlefield at Agincourt is a treacherous quagmire. The heavy armor of the French knights becomes a deadly liability. They are bogged down in the mud, easy targets for the English longbowmen. The battle, despite the disparity in numbers, is a rout. The Battle of Agincourt marked the decline of the mounted knight and ushered in a new era of warfare. Chapter 5. Plassey, the East India Company's empire begins. Our final journey takes us to the year 1757, to the dusty plains of Bengal, India. The British East India Company, a powerful trading corporation, is vying for control of the lucrative trade routes of the Indian subcontinent. At Plassey, a small village on the banks of the Bhagirathi River, a seemingly insignificant battle will have far-reaching consequences. The East India Company's army, led by Robert Clive, faces the forces of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal. The Nawab's army vastly outnumbers Clive's force, but it is a force divided. Clive, recognizing his opportunity, has bribed Mir Jafar, the Nawab's commander-in-chief, to betray his master. Imagine the scene. The two armies face each other across the dusty plain. The Nawab's forces, a colorful array of elephants, cavalry, and infantry, seem to stretch as far as the eye can see. The British, their red coats stark against the landscape, are outnumbered but confident. As the battle commences, a fierce monsoon downpour breaks, turning the battlefield into a muddy quagmire. The Nawab's forces, hampered by the rain, fall into disarray. Mir Jafar, true to his word, holds his troops back. The Battle of Plassey is a short, one-sided affair. The Battle of Plassey marked the beginning of British dominance in India. Outro echoes of the past. From the sun-drenched plains of Marathon to the dusty fields of Plassey, we've journeyed across time and continents, exploring 5 battles that, despite their small scale, sent ripples through history, their impact echoing across generations. These weren't just clashes of armies, they were clashes of ideologies, of empires, of ways of life. These battles remind us that history isn't just a linear progression, a straight line from past to present. It's a tapestry woven from countless threads. Each battle, each decision, each act of courage or cowardice contributing to the grand design. The world we live in today, the very air we breathe, is shaped by the echoes of these battles, by the sacrifices made and the victories won on those distant fields. If you found this exploration of history's pivotal clashes fascinating, if you crave more stories of the past that illuminate the present, then subscribe to this channel. Join us as we continue to delve into the annals of history, uncovering the hidden narratives that have shaped our world.